I'm gonna vent for a second, but on here because this is a teachable moment. And hopefully I can be clear and not all over the place, since I am a little bit reactionary also. But, okay, so I don't want to get into the specifics of the person and exactly what's going on. I'm going to try and focus on the lesson. Even for twin flames, even if you're a divine feminine, even if you're a divine masculine, you do not get to use the excuse of "you should love me unconditionally" to excuse bad behavior, to excuse, what is bad behavior? Being inconsiderate, being rude, being abusive, being narcissistic, being just treating other people like crap, okay? Being only focused on yourself and completely unaware of anybody else or how you are treating them, people that are supposed to be your friends. The excuse of, well, you're supposed to be learning how to love unconditionally and you should love me unconditionally, that is not an excuse for treating other people however you want and not being accountable for it, okay? Like, I know I have talked about, with your twin and how they behave when they're wounded and having understanding for that and all those things, all of that is true. But with your twin and with anybody, there is a fine line between abusive behavior and that wounded behavior that has remorse. And I think that's the main key here, because wounded twins and wounded anybody, they generally have remorse for how they treat people. It's when you get into the lack of remorse and lack of empathy that it starts to shift into narcissistic behavior and abusive behavior. And the thing is that, even deeply wounded divine feminines and divine masculines can push the limits on that. Like, I have seen that happen with more than one person. And sometimes it can take time for them to fully realize it as well. And honestly, even with the person that has triggered this, I know that deep down she has a good heart, but right now she can't control her actions at all. I'm not completely sure why she can't control herself right now, because she's not always like this. I know it's related to her wounds, and I believe that even though I believe that there may be a spiritual warfare element to it as well. But regardless of the case, my point is that, hold on. I was trying to get away from the loud lawnmower outside that is now returning. The door is shut, so hopefully it's not too loud for you guys. Anyway, I think what I was saying is that, she's not always like this, and I know that she does have a good heart, and, I still love her and care about her, but I have to put boundaries right now, because for whatever reason, at the moment, the last few months, her behavior is honestly that borderline narcissistic and abusive. And the biggest issue that I have with it is that she is not willing to see what she's doing. And she doesn't have remorse, and she doesn't apologize, and she just continues to behave this way. And I'm not the only person that sees it. And she is literally like using us at the same time as using us for the support that she needs. She's in the same conversations complaining about conditional love and that we don't accept her for as she is, but what she's really saying is that she should be able to treat us however she wants, and that's okay, and it doesn't, and like, we just accept that. And the thing is that, like I said, this goes for anybody. And it goes for your twin as well when they're wounded. It's up to each person on how they're going to handle that, but it's not okay. It's not okay to behave in those, abusive ways, to be straightforward and honest. Like, you don't get to treat people however you want. You don't get, look, I'm sorry, but you don't get to be an asshole and try to say, you should love me unconditionally. That is getting into karmic territory. And this is where it gets confusing with twin flames. Like, there are so many people who say that's a karmic partner, not a twin flame. And, nobody can really tell you that without knowing you and this person and being able to see the soul connection and all that stuff. Honestly, being able to talk to spirit and get that clarity. But I'm going to lose my train of thought and I'm going to run out of seconds. So hold on. Sorry about that. Continuing. Like I was saying, nobody can really tell you if someone is for sure a twin flame or karmic. And like I said, I have seen examples of very wounded twins or very wounded people who are just not ready yet to be in that divine masculine or divine feminine role, that are behaving in ways that someone could say that's a karmic. So I'm not going to get into the, how can you judge that type of thing when it comes to what other people think it's a. But like I was saying, this behavior from anybody is getting into that confusing, contradictory state of twin flame versus karmic. And I'm just I'm going to be bold. I'm going to call people out right now. Like, for divine feminine as well, not just a divine masculine. For divine feminines also, like, you're wounded too. Like, don't think that your shit don't stink. Don't think that you're perfect. If you're not in union, you might not be healed yet either. I mean, that is also not necessarily true, because divine feminines are ready before the divine masculines. And honestly, even after you're in union, there can still be some healing that occurs. I shouldn't have said that. But you get my point. Like, you're not perfect. You have your own wounds and issues to work through. I'm speaking generally. And divine feminines, like, can have negative behaviors also, okay? It's not just the divine masculines. And nobody on either side should be acting in any way that is like basically saying, I can do whatever I want and you have to love me because you're supposed to love me unconditionally. Because that is not twin flame. That is not union. That is karmic behavior. That is unhealed toxic wounds. And that is downright abusive, depending on what it is that you're doing. Okay? I'm trying to think. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is that on the flip side of it, then there's also the people who are truly in karmic relationships and are using that unconditional love ideology to excuse the abusive behavior in karmic relationships and say, oh, this is my twin flame, when it's not their twin flame. So it's like on two different angles here. On one side, as a twin flame, you don't get to use that excuse to act however you want, and that is actually behaving more like a karmic and just exposing your wounds, your own wounds and crap that you need to work on because you're not ready. And then on the flip side, if you're really in a karmic relationship, you can't use that ideology to excuse it and not see the truth. I do understand that is something that can be very confusing when you're in the trenches, so to speak, of like a twin flame journey. Like, you might fully think that you're dealing with the karmic, but it's hard for me to even talk about this in a good way, because then there's the people who are intent on believing that someone is a twin flame if they're karmic, and then there's the people who are in actual twin flame relationships who want to believe that it's a karmic because they're trying to run from it. So there's these two different opposite sides of the same coin type of thing. But in any case, you can see where I'm getting at about this, that it's not a clear-cut thing. And for those who are truly twin flames and on a twin flame journey, yeah, you can go through a difficult phase or phases with this behavior where it's really hard to tell, and you don't know what to do about it. I mean, one of the biggest things I can tell you is that with a karmic, you should be able to move on And with a twin flame, you wouldn't be able to. Now, it might be hard to move on from a karmic until you learn all of the necessary lessons, but there's still, even with a twin flame, there's going to be a core true love there that is not present in a karmic relationship. In a karmic relationship, we're talking about toxic karmic relationships, the key difference is going to be that that person, like I was saying before, has no remorse. Like, their focus is about control and manipulation and like possessing you, and there's not true love there. And it's going to be like, we're going to be talking about downright abuse. It might be psychological or emotional, and you might not fully realize that it's abuse, but abuse nonetheless. Or sometimes it can be really like hard to see, because if they're using black magic, or they're covert narcissists where like they don't show their true colors easily, like it's very subtle and subliminal, that might be hard to see too. But in any case, like I said, there's no true remorse. It's only about controlling and possession. With true twin flames, even when they're behaving like that because they're so deeply wounded, there is remorse there. You do have that core true love, and you will see that. You will have the moments of truly seeing that where it's real and it's not that fake superficial stuff that the toxic karmic is projecting. It's hard to exactly give you examples or explain, but you will see a difference. Okay, so just take that into consideration. But even when your twin is acting like that, like even if it's a true twin and they have that core love for you, if they're acting like that, you can and should have boundaries, because it's not okay for them to treat you like that. Okay, and having those boundaries will then help them start to see themselves more clearly. So let me try and wrap this up here, but I think that my final thought is simply that, like I was saying originally, like it doesn't matter if you're a divine masculine or you're a divine feminine, like you have your own issues and stuff, and you have to be accountable for that. You have to self-assess. You have to be able to look in the mirror and see your behaviors and see, self-assess. Like, I don't even know how else to say that. To examine yourself, to ask yourself, what am I doing? How am I behaving? That type of thing. Honestly, since I was a teenager, I would literally go to my friends and be like, what's wrong with me? What are my faults? What do I need to work on? I don't know why I was always like that, but I was. It's a level of self-awareness also. I was trying to be accountable for myself. Not everybody can do that. It's really hard to do, but you have to be able to. Like, you cannot project your issues on other people and refuse to see it and refuse to be held accountable for your behavior if you're not treating someone in a good way. Like, if you're being a jerk, like, you have to be able to take accountability for that. And you have to be able to hear it and apologize genuinely. Not like a half-ass apology that you insist should be taken as genuine when it's clearly not. Anyway, I won't go into that more. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like, unconditional love and twin flame relationships are not an excuse to treat anybody, your twin or others, however you feel like, and with the excuse of, you should love me unconditionally. Okay? Everybody needs to be held accountable for their behavior. This is a process of self-healing, self-growth, and all that. And if you are not going through that, you are not in divine energy, whether it's divine feminine or divine masculine, and you are not ready, and you are behaving like a karmic, and you're not acting any better than a karmic relationship, and you have a lot more work to do. Okay? So like I said, I'm calling people out. Honestly, that's like my personality anyway. I'm a little bit of a blunt truther. I hold up the mirror for people. If they don't like what they see, sometimes they have something to say about it, but I'm just holding up the mirror. I'm not, the bad guy. The mirror is the bad guy. So anyway, those are my thoughts for today. I hope this helps you guys. Just kidding, not done yet. Although I am almost done. But I thought of something else that I wanted to add. So, like, I know that if the person who sparked this were to watch, which I don't know if she will. She might not see it because we're not speaking at the moment. But I know from the argument that we already had that her reaction would be to be like, but you do this and you do that, and, you know, to point the finger back at me. And that is, you know, I'm not here to get into an argument or discussion about my behavior versus her behavior, because that's not what this is about. I mean, like I told you guys already, since I've been a teenager, I self-assess. Maybe it takes me a little bit of time to respond properly, because everybody has to, like, everybody's pride and ego, you know, affects them, and they have to, you know, take a moment to process things and be able to respond in the right way. However, my point is that I am not incapable of my own self-analysis and reflection, and adjusting my behavior. And nobody is perfect. Like, I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I never do anything wrong either, okay? But what I wanted to focus on with this is, first of all, that behavior is both part of what I was talking about when I was saying that the key is whether or not there is remorse. Like, when you're talking about narcissists, there is absolutely no remorse. And narcissism is on a spectrum as well. So I'm talking about, I'm talking about severe narcissists who are sociopathic and very abusive. There is no remorse. Like, they could be serial killers. A lot of wounded divine feminines and divine masculines, they do have remorse, even when they struggle to show it. And actually, like how I was talking about with this person, how I know that she has a good heart in there, and, you know, it's just more recent that this behavior has been going on. That reaction of pointing the finger back and not liking what the mirror is showing when you hold it up, and trying to turn it around on the other person, that is actually really a, sorry, I'm laughing because I'm thinking about how I'm relating it back to the unconditional stuff. But that is a defense mechanism based on those core wounds. So someone's inability to see those things about themselves, that is coming from specific core wounds that are in need of healing. And they're just so strong that their defense mechanisms and their ego center are popping up in order to protect themselves from, you know, what you're showing them. So yeah, that is their ego center and their defense mechanisms, you know, coming up to protect themselves from what is being shown to them. And like I said, it's really not the person saying it. It's that the person saying it is holding up that mirror, and they don't want to see it because it is triggering and provoking those core wounds. I feel like those core wounds are going to be connected to deep insecurity and self-worth wounds and abandonment wounds, because abandonment is going to link to self-worth, because when you're abandoned by the most important people in your life, it makes you feel like unworthy. So I do feel like that's what it is poking and provoking. And I do understand that, because anybody who is not, you know, truly evil deserves that love and compassion and understanding. like I chuckled before, this is about going back to that unconditional love. And the people who are acting like this, these deeply wounded people, like, they are, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? It literally was in and out. I think I was going to say just that they do truly deserve love also, and that unconditional love too. And I have compassion for that in those wounds. However, like I said, it's not an excuse to act however you want and treat people however you want. So that defense mechanism and that behavior, it's like, you know, they're not wanting to see themselves clearly, because at the same time, deep down, they know that they are behaving in a way that they shouldn't. But it's a very complex mental and psychological process of their ego center blocking that. And it's part of the healing process. And I really truly believe that for wounded divine masculines and divine feminines who are going through something like that, who I know who do have that like good heart deep down, even when they're struggling through this process, they will get there. And that's one of the things that this journey does. It does take them through this healing. And I honestly truly believe that even for the person that it sparked this, I truly believe that Spirit is bringing her through this process right now to kind of force her to address these wounds and heal them more, so that she, is able to grow and evolve and move past this. Somehow this is getting much longer. But anyway, so yeah, that is that other perspective. That is when I can like hold that compassion and love for them. And honestly, I've said this in previous videos, like hold that compassion and love just from a distance with boundaries when these people are unable to act and behave in the ways that they should, that are in a healthy way for a healthy relationship. I do understand. I guess my point here, because I'm not even really sure at the moment, I think my point here is that I understand where that behavior is coming from. People don't like to see their faults. So when that mirror is held up to them from wherever it's coming from, it's an automatic defense mechanism reaction to act in that way, to point the finger back and try to make excuses and not want to see what they're doing wrong. But so I understand that, and I have a love and compassion for who they are deep down inside, for their inner child, but it's still not an excuse. It's still not an excuse for acting however you want with no accountability and no remorse. And like I said, that was the key thing, that you need to show remorse. You need to show that you care, that you aren't intending to treat people badly and act as if you can do whatever you want. So I do, like I said, I truly believe that the twin flame journey and these soul growth journeys are helping people heal those deep wounds. And it's usually going to take time for them to work through that process and then be able to see themselves more clearly, gain self-awareness, and respond in the right ways, and apologize and kind of make up for it. You don't have to like ditch people forever because they're acting like that, but it is okay to have boundaries when they're doing that and they're not able to see it. Let me think, what else? I wasn't really expecting all of the stuff that I talked about to come out of me, but I think there were several core messages. So hopefully it helped everybody in some capacity, between the part about, not using the unconditional love as an excuse, understanding why they're acting that way, that it's basically those deep, dark insecurities that are coming up, and having compassion for them, but also having boundaries when necessary, and just understanding this is all part of the process, and that everybody, divine feminine, divine masculine, has to be self-assess and be accountable for your own behavior. Okay? I know. But it's of one more thing. But this one won't take long. So the twin flame journey is about the process of embodying that unconditional love for ourselves, for loving ourselves, all of us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then being able to love our twins that way. And it's in an odd way, it's easier to do that with a twin flame, because being the other half of our soul, we can't even, it's like I had explained before, we can't even help it. We just love them so much, we can't even help it because of that soul connection. So it's harder to have unconditional love for other people. My hair is amazing right now. It's harder to have that unconditional love for other people because we don't have that soul connection deep down that makes us love them so much no matter what. But regardless of that part, the point is that it's that journey of first having that unconditional love for yourself, being able to see yourself completely, and love all of yourself and know that you deserve to be loved, and then embodying that true love with your twin, right? Okay, so 2 aspects to this. 1, as you are loving yourself unconditionally, learning to do that, it makes absolutely no sense to allow anybody else to treat you badly. So if you truly love yourself unconditionally, you're not going to allow anybody else to treat you in a way that does not match that. So whether that's your wounded twin who's not ready yet, or that is somebody else, you got to have boundaries when that's the case, right? Because you're learning to love yourself unconditionally and expecting the same from other people. And then on the flip side of it, if I honestly truly lost what it was I was going to say. It came into my mind while I was talking, which happens a lot, and then it left right away. I think it was something about the person who is wounded, who was acting like this in the first place, and I think it was something along the lines of they also need to learn how to love themselves unconditionally in order to heal those insecurities that are causing them to act that way. But there's another angle to that of there's a danger in that if in doing that by loving themselves unconditionally, they're using that still as another excuse for being able to act however they want because they're loving all of themselves. That's not the same thing. That's still I'm not even sure what to call it, but obviously that's not good because you still have to be a good person and not be an asshole. So they do have to learn to love themselves completely, but also, be a good person and not use it as an excuse for bad behavior. I think that's it. Okay, so now this is an extension from what I was talking about previously. So I'm actually done with that, but I want to move in a new direction that occurred to me while I was listening to that last video back. So I was talking about how it's easier to unconditionally love your twin flame because of that soul connection. So that brings me to, I honestly think Spirit just puts this stuff into my head. But that what is the purpose of twin flames? Why do twin flames exist? Okay, so this is actually the perfect example of why twin flames exist, because doing this like really hard inner work of the self-examination, self-analysis, and self-healing process. It's really hard. It's really painful. It's not easy. Like I was saying, it's not easy to look in the mirror and see yourself clearly and heal those deep core wounds that are either causing, insecurities and self-worth issues, or they're causing you to treat other people badly because you're covering up for those issues, or whatever it is. Like, it's really hard to do that. And people don't choose to do that usually. It's very rare that people choose to do that self-work. So the twin flame journey basically forces people to go through that process. It forces them to go through those dark nights of the soul that require that self-analysis and inner work. And that is why twin flames exist. That is why we have this person who's the other half of our soul who we can't help loving unconditionally, even when they're doing stuff that hurts us at times when they're in the wounded stage, because that soul connection from the soul split, it doesn't give us a choice. And that is what pulls us through the journey of inner healing, because in a weird way, even though we can't stop focusing on our twin flame, it's actually the personal transformation journey and the inner work journey that you're going through. So Spirit is basically using your twin flame to pull you and your twin flame, but to pull both of you through that journey of inner work and self-exploration and healing that is necessary for your soul growth. So that is why twin flames exist. Well, that's one of the reasons. That is the purpose of the journey. The second purpose, which I've talked about many times, is, assisting with ascension. But as far as that goes, that's why the twin flame connection is what it is, and it's so powerful and strong. So you can't, because it just forces you through the process of healing, basically. And there's also one other thing that I can address based on what I was originally talking about there. I talked about how your twin has to go through that healing process to be able to love themselves unconditionally, to be able to heal and act the way they should, embody that divine twin energy, and be ready for the healthy, harmonious union relationship, right? So keeping that in mind is exactly why, even though you can't help focusing on your twin and missing your twin and aching to be with your twin, if you can remember that they have to go through that healing process, it'll help you shift your focus to yourself instead of focusing on your twin. And that's how to get through the journey, which I know it's easier said than done. But what you really have to do, and honestly, like, I struggle with this too. I know I'm saying it, I know I'm preaching it, and I struggle with it too, but it's everybody does, okay? But that's how you have to get through the journey. You have to remind yourself that your twin has to get through this healing process. It doesn't make sense to come together before your twin is ready, because they're not ready yet. You're not going to be able to have union yet. You're not going to be able to have a happy relationship yet until they get through that healing process. And the same goes for you when you have your own stuff that needs to heal and whatnot, so that you are ready. So you really you got to shift your focus to understanding that, understanding what they're going through and why, and having compassion for them for that, but also focusing on your life. What do you need to do for your life in all capacities? Whether it's your inner healing, whether it's your life purpose path, whatever it may be, and just focusing on enjoying the present moment, making yourself happy. I don't know if you guys follow Magenta Pixie, but she's a spiritual teacher. She posted something the other day about someone who is complaining about waiting for changes to happen for New Earth. And she made a comment about, well, waiting is always hard. You can't be in waiting energy. You have to focus on enjoying the present moment and making the best of it. And that's basically what you have to do on the twin flame journey too. You have to, focus on yourself in all of the necessary ways. Understand what's going on with your twin from that higher perspective, and that you want them to be ready, and focus on making yourself happy in the meantime, being present, living in the moment, not worrying about the past or the future other than healing the wounds of the past, and just ride it out that way. And that is the best way that you can open the pathways for union to come sooner rather than later, and get through it in a sane way.